Good evening, everyone. I wanted to let you know that the board is still in closed session at this time. They anticipate starting open session in 8 to 10 minutes. I apologize for the delay.
The board will now convene open session and report out from the closed session. The Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, May 4th, 2021 will be conducted completely online. Executive Order number N-29-20 supersedes prior instructions and prohibits a gathering space even if social distancing guidelines are followed. The URL for live streaming on YouTube may be found on the New Haven Unified School District Board of Education webpage. If you would like to provide public comment for this meeting, you may do so by utilizing the raise your hand option in Zoom. Or if you are calling in by phone, please press *9 and wait to be called on. We have one community member comment ahead of this meeting via our public comment at New Haven Unified School District .k12.kca.us email address. That comment has been provided to the board prior to the start of this meeting. Additionally, we want to remind the public that we will not be responding to questions posed by those making public comments at this meeting. Relative to closed session items number 3.1 through 3.4, there was no action taken by the board. May I have a roll call, please?
Trejo. Velasco. Canlis.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Nishihira.
Here.
Swin Mallory.
Here.
Chima.
Here. Agenda item number 5.2. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Canlis.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye.
Swin Mallory.
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. Agenda item number 6.1, hearing of visitors on topics not on agenda. Because of COVID-19 shelter-in-place order, the district has provided opportunity for community members to address the board via email at public comment at nhusd.k12.ca.us. The deadline to submit request was today at 2 p.m. Are there any community members that wish to address the board on topics that are not on the agenda? I see one hand up. I will call on, so please keep your comments to 2 minutes. The speaker at this time is Gavin Smith. Lori, could you please take care of the time? And you may start now.
Okay, I just got the button for unmute. Thank you. Good evening, board, superintendent, and also all members of staff and public. My name is Gavin Smith. I am a teacher at James Logan High School. I'm also a parent of a daughter at James Logan High School and a son that will be going to James Logan High School next year. I just want to start off and just, this is Teacher Appreciation Week, and I want to, recognize my colleagues. Without their professional support, this year would be even more impossible than it has been. I would also like to thank parents who have always been partners in the effort to educate our students, your children, but this year took on so much more, and it has not gone unnoticed. And it is most definitely appreciated. So thank you, parents. As a teacher of 20 years in this district, I have seen class size continually to grow, even in years of declining enrollment. Class size is not simply a teacher's working conditions, it is our students' learning conditions. This year with COVID, it became very apparent some of the problems with class size. I was working with the district, and I believe that the teachers and the district worked well together. I applaud Superintendent Thompson for that. But as we designed hybrid programs, or schedules that were not actually implemented, one of the major limiting factors on middle school and high school were class sizes. The COVID pandemic has brought front and center that class size is not just working conditions and student learning conditions, it's also health and safety conditions. And as we return to school in person next year, students are going to be recovering from learning losses. Teachers and parents will be trying to do everything that we can to help our students continue to grow and learn. And we'll also be needing to support them emotionally. Class size is an important issue, and I hope and urge the board to make that a priority in your negotiations with NHTA.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Kimberly Dubano.
Hi there. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Thompson. As we wind down this tumultuous and exhausting year, I'm hoping with every tired fiber in my being that we leave this year with a fair contract for our hardworking teachers. So what constitutes a fair contract to me? I believe a fair contract includes consideration of 3 aspects. 1, class sizes. 2, our immense and growing workload. 3, a monetary component that respects and reflects the devoted work of our teachers and is on the pay scale. Each of these pieces has a direct impact on the students in front of us each day. Tonight, I'll talk about the one of the 3 things that benefit all stakeholders. That thing is class size. Often people think that teachers care about class size because they have less work to do. If that is a narrative that you believe, I am here to tell you that that is simply not true. Here is why I believe class size is important and worth the investment. 1, smaller class sizes means students are able to spend more one-on-one time with each of their teachers and get focused instructional support and direct and meaningful feedback. In addition to increased academic support, students will get more intense mental and relationship building support. We know this is a big consideration for next year, especially after these last 2 COVID years. We know in education that the stronger the relationship between students and teachers, the higher the success rate. Students will feel and be seen. Smaller class sizes mean higher rates of success, which bodes well for our district. Success rates in a district attract people, which in turn increases enrollment. Our student success is a reflection of your commitment to our staff, our kids, and our community. So the question is, can we afford to not invest in smaller class sizes for our students? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And moving on to the next agenda item is 7.1. Are there any community members that wish to address the board on topics that are on the agenda? Please raise your hands right now. I see one hand right now, Miss Colleen Hazlitt. Go ahead, please.
Hello, my comments tonight are on 12.2 personnel actions. You look in the personnel actions under the co-curricular stipends for both Cesar Chavez Middle School and Nate Leon Veracruz Middle School. There are 25 coaching positions listed. Combined, when you combine both schools, 7 are women coaches. So that means there are 18 that are male coaches. Now, granted, I know it's probably not a full list, but I don't think that's going to look a whole lot different. Just because it's no longer March and no longer Women's History Month, it doesn't mean this doesn't matter. Where's the we need to do better, or the we'll take a better look at the hiring actions that I've heard before from this board regarding these issues. And also under Ileong Veracruz, there are only 2 girls basketball coaches while the boys have 3. Why is that? Certainly there's enough girls to play on 3 basketball teams just as there are for boys. Why are there only 2 listed for the girls and 3 for the boys? Do the boys get an extra team or an extra coach?
Team, I think we lost Miss Hazlitt.
No, I'm here. I'm just
She's
using my
here. I
5.
think she's just using her time and then.
Yeah, to let you think.
Time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Joe Q. Angeles.
Good evening, President Chima, Board Trustees, Dr. Thompson, district staff, teachers and staff in the community, as well as community members and parents at home. I just wanted to address item on agenda 3.2, which of course is a bargaining update that was held in closed session. I did want to bring to our reflection and attention that unfortunately, as we know, our past history on the last contract ended up in an extreme conversation that resulted in a strike. We know from reviewing that whole affair that it was caused by definitely miscommunication in terms of understanding open conversation what the needs are. We know for almost 10 months, it was said very clearly there was no money to take care of the teachers in the contract. Of course, we know that changed, and the biggest picture about being bankrupt never occurred. I do want to say the big learning from that was that the priority of teachers must be ahead and must be put in place. And in talking to the new superintendent at the time, Dr. Thompson, he stated that he really wanted to work to make sure that philosophy stood in place, the priority of employees, the priority of what employees do moving forward. And as a result of that consideration, it was also developed and accepted by the Board of Education. Those 5 district goals, both goal 3 and 5 really speak to that idea of having it as a priority for teachers in terms of the contract consideration. Because once we have the elements of understanding that teacher needs in terms of compensation, of workload, and other ideas on the contract, that shows that we are a priority. One of the biggest concerns is that there's never really an idea that we are a big item on the budget consideration. It's always the idea, we all know, we've heard it many times, of what's left over to give to the teachers and staff. We want to make sure we reflect on that, change the narrative, and move forward, because as you know, this is a difficult year. Teachers' value is unsurpassed now. Teachers, community, statewide, nationwide, know teachers' efforts are needed and very much should be supported and considered moving forward. So I ask you, thank you. I ask you just to really consider that, reflect it, so we can learn from history and certainly not repeat it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Angeles. Next speaker in line is Greg Snelling.
All right, good evening. Hi, New Haven community, school board members. Thank you for allowing me just a few moments of your time. I'm a 24-year employee of this school district, all my years at the wonderful distinguished school, Alvarado Elementary. And it's been a privilege to work here. I can't imagine working in any other place. Regardless of the contentious negotiations that have occurred over the years with NHTA, the teachers. Working through the budget is a complicated mess. I do congratulate our district managers for finding one-time funds to offset the general fund, for looking for savings, for trying to right-size expenditures. I think the frustrating thing, just to piggyback on Mr. Angeles, is that there seem to be scraps, or the dregs are offered to teachers and frankly the community in terms of compensating teachers fairly and then looking out for students and making attempts to reduce class size. The district often finds itself with its hands tied, looking at 3-year budget projections. And of course, it's always the 3rd year. We're currently in the 3rd year of a 3rd-year budget projection. Going back over time in 14-15, the district was free and clear $7 million extra dollars than it had projected 3 years before. That is $7 million beyond the 3% required reserve. In 15-16, of course, that's when we got the RTTI monies. it was $18.9 million more than projected 3 years previously. In 16-17, it was $18.6 million more than projected 3 years previously. In 17-18, the district found itself with $12.8 million more than projected 3 years previously.
Time.
And if I could just make one more comment, this year, the district was projecting to have an ending balance of $450,000, and now their ending balance is $18.69 million, an increase of over $18 million than what was projected. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Next in line is Scott Sakakihara. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Chima and trustees and staff. I'm Scott Sakakihara. I'm not a teacher, but I'm on the City Planning Commission, and I'm speaking in my personal capacity, not official. My wife is a teacher, though. And this past year, if we didn't already know it, and I know we here did already know it, but we've seen the value of teachers with parents trying to juggle work and helping with schoolwork. And so I just wanted to voice that I'd like to see the contract completed this school year, and one that invests in our teachers and in the classroom, so that the district and the teachers and everyone can focus on smooth transition back to the classroom for students next school year, because I know that'll be front and center for all of us. So just wanted to thank the teachers here. Someone had mentioned it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and also thank the board and staff for the work that you do as well, because I know that it's not easy, and I'm sure that, you know, there will be some tough negotiations ahead, but thank you for the work that's done. And that's all I have.
Thank you. So I have one next hand is next speaker, Gavin Smith, please.
Good evening again. I just want to tag along on the parents' comment and just say back at you, thank you, parents, again. My wife is a special ed teacher, works with young children, and those kids do not learn if their parents aren't sitting with them. And this year has been a tremendous opportunity for parents to get education in how they can help their students with disabilities. Because as everybody knows, kids don't come with instructions, and parents are learning. I'm learning. I've never been a parent before. I do want to speak about settling the contract. And again, I know that there's a lot of common ground that we can find. I know that we have declining enrollment and we want to attract families into our district. And one way to do that is, again, to make our schools the best and lower class size, high quality teachers. Those are two ways of making sure that we do attract and retain teachers, and we attract parents and families to our district. And so I would urge the board again to do all they can to help Dr. Thompson and his team work with our team to resolve our contract so that we can go forward next year with together really doing what we need to focus on, which is helping our students learn. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone's comments and coming out to the board meeting. Next on agenda item is 8.1. It's a presentation on district physical update and one-time funds, AB 86 and the American Rescue Plan. Ms. Heldman will present us with the information. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, President Chima. Good evening, Superintendent Thompson, members of the board, and staff and New Haven community. So this evening, I wanted to share some significant budget updates that transpired after the last updates that we provided to the board in March. And these really are a result of the the better than projected state economy. So we're seeing it in these terms, in terms of one-time dollars, both from federal and state. So these things, that that, like I said, are significant, and they happened after second interim, are really just three things. However, by the time that I was completing this report, there were a few more nuggets of information that I will share that may not be here, but I will talk about them towards the end. So as mentioned, there are three major things. These are the Governor Newsom plan, I call it that, and President Biden plan, which is the American Rescue. And then there's new information with regards to unemployment insurance, as well as CalSTRS. So just with regarding to those two buckets of one-time dollars, now remember, in earlier part of this year, we also received some one-time monies in the form of coronavirus, Corona Relief Fund, which is part of our LLM. So this is on top of those. We did present the LLM funds to you as part of our 45-day budget revision. So these two buckets of one-time dollars are on top of those. So these are the side-by-side comparison with regards to pertinent information on these two buckets of money. As you can see, I'm providing information with regards to where it's coming from. One of them is from the federal government. One of them is from the state. One of them has two components in it, which is the in-person, and one is the expanded learning. And there are certain conditions that we have to meet or that we have to do in order to receive the funds. And we have the spending timeline. One of them ends sooner than the other, as you can see here. And there are certain restrictions on these particular buckets of monies. And of course, just like with anything, there are some fiscal reporting that staff would have to do until all the money is spent. So these two buckets of funds poses a lot of opportunities for us, as well, of course, as challenges. More money is always a good thing. We'll take it. Additional resources is always something that we want. Like I said, we will take everything that we can get. And with these additional dollars, we're able to create and provide some systems of support, especially coming out of the pandemic, for our students and our staff. And the thing is, there really is no lack of need. I mean, we thank the government for the money, but there's really a lot more need. It's just never enough. But like I said, this poses a great opportunity for us. And one challenge when we get a lot of influx of one-time money, which has happened this year, and a lot of it is, like I said, we've heard prior to I don't want to move too much in time, but prior to the November initial preliminary report from the LAO office, it was gloom and doom. And this happened. So now there are a lot of indicators in our economy that things have been great, and we're seeing that things have been great by way of all of these one-time dollars. The thing, of course, is when you have all these one-time dollars, they actually kind of mask the fiscal reality that we have. Now, not every district is like us. There are districts. We are in the 65% of districts up and down the state that are losing enrollment. And like I said, not everyone is like us, but for us, it really does hide the fiscal reality that we live in. In preparing to plan to spend and spending to the plan, these are the what I call the guiding principles in terms of how we look at these one-time dollars. Of course, students are in the center of these spending plans, especially with AB 86. There is a stakeholder engagement component. We are told, or the conditions of these dollars are or need to be centered in terms of it's no longer learning loss, but learning recovery. Everything that our students lost, that's what we need to focus on. And of course, because they are one time, we need to think about how we can have a long-term positive impact and how to sustain the systems that we are building now with these one-time dollars. And the normal rules that we always hear when we get funding like these is, use your most restricted first. Now, before these one-time buckets of money, our most restricted was actually different. We always thought of it as Title I, right? All the titles. Under this environment with these one-time buckets of money, that the most restricted kind of changed a little bit. These are restricted, more restricted than Title I, believe it or not. And restrictions come in different forms. It could be the date, meaning if I have to spend it, if I have to spend it all by December 2022, that's a restriction. It could also be a restriction with regards to the allowability of uses for them. So there's different forms of restrictions when it comes to these types of funds. And one of the things that we are very good at, and I heard one of our speakers say that, is we are very proactive and creative in looking for ways to relieve our unrestricted general fund and use these things. And case in point, when we developed the budget, we had a 45-day revision, as you all know, because we threw away May revision. May revision was a fake budget to us, right? And then the actual approved budget in June was a much better picture for us. When we presented a 45-day revision, for example, we projected an ending balance of 13.1 million. When we presented to you a second interim report, that 13.1 is now 20.5 million. That's an increase of 7.4. 5.5 million of that 7.4 is actually from LLM. And that speaks to what I heard earlier from one of the speakers, is we're really trying to leverage as much as we can to free up money in the unrestricted general fund. So going back to the screen, again, like I said, relieve general fund as much and as legally as we can. And when we use these funds to create long-lasting impact, in other words, when everything is done, when 2024 is done, what do we have to show for the money that we received as one-time funds? So those are the tenets in which we are planning to spend and spending to the plan as far as these two buckets are concerned. Now, one of those is the expanded learning grant. Oh, you know what? I need to go back to something here. I mentioned that there are two components of that. This is a question mark in terms of the in-person, because we are, as you know, we have had pods sessions, and we're looking to ways to leverage the in-person grant based on the pods that we are operating. So that's a question mark, but we are hopeful and doing all our can as a district to make sure that we get that 3.3 million that I show here. Sorry for digressing, but here is that. So the expanded learning component of the AB 86, it's 7 million to us. And this is the component that actually requires a stakeholder engagement, and that is currently happening. But I just wanted to show you on my screen, some of the current thinking right now in terms of how to best use that money that follows the principles that I showed in a previous screen. So these are those. And like I said, the engagement is currently happening. And as far as the ESSER, the other bucket, the Biden plan, these are the current thinking right now. These are the plans based on what we've heard and responses from the survey that we've been doing as a district. So just so you know, the ESSER plan is about 8 million. As you can see, just based on these different ideas, we've spent that money. Now, this is not set in stone at this point, but these are, like I said, the current thinking at this point in terms of spending those dollars. Now, one other thing that emerged after second interim is the increase of unemployment insurance. For many, many years, that cost to the district had been 0.05%, as you can see on my screen. Because of record unemployment claims, and as you all know, it's been extended as well, that grew because they have to collect the money somewhere. That grew by 23.6 times. And to us, as you can see here, from 43,000 to, it's covered on my screen, but you all can see the number. Now, the good news to this is, as we are hearing that one of those two buckets of one-time funds, if this comes to fruition, and it sounds like it would, we could actually use ESSER money for it. So that saves the general fund dollars, because if not for ESSER, this variance would come from general fund. So we're watching this closely to see if we really get an okay, if it happens, and if we could really use ESSER. The other thing is a 1% increase in the CalSTRS. I have the numbers in my screen. that 1% increases, and remember, these are estimates at this point, because we really don't know that payroll, the actual payroll, until a year from, well, 14 months from now. So this is the increase that we are hearing as far as the 1% for CalSTARS. Now, this one will be a hit to the general fund. And so again, this is one of those things that we are also watching. Now, before I move to next steps, one of the things that also transpired just in the last couple of days is an increase in the projected COLA of 0.2%. So if you all recall, the January proposal, we went from 0 COLA for 21-22 to 3.84% COLA, which is a compounded COLA. There's good news there. It's a 0.2% increase. And to us, that's about $208,000. And it's ongoing. So that's good news. And like I said, this had been completed by the time I received news like that. So, and again, before I conclude, another thing that I want to mention, and I know I've heard it, and I'm hearing it in a lot of different places as well. There's a lot of good indicators. Many of the economic indicators are showing good news, right? Strong, robust housing economy. Now that transcends to public education finance by way of Proposition 98, which transcends to us by way of a COLA. So we're holding, optimistic to May revise that it would be even better than what we are hearing now. With that said, it's a good segue. We are knee deep in budget development in the Fiscal Services Department. And that's really a lot of process that began in January, from our enrollment projection, from our staffing allocation, and everything that's been changing and continuing to evolve since then. We would then recalibrate once we get numbers from the May revise. And of course, in June, we will be presenting to you the proposed budget for the next 3 years. So that would be what we are going to be consumed by between now and the middle of June. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Hellman, for your very comprehensive information presentation. I know this is not an action item, but I would like to ask any board members if they have any comments or questions still. I see a hand raised up from Trustee Nishihira. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so it's good news that we might be able to use ESSER for the unemployment insurance increase. But just to confirm, since ESSER is just one-time monies, it will hit our general fund at some point. And I guess the point is, all of the multi-year projections that the board has been reviewing, do those include the increase in UI?
Not the latest, which is the second interim, which is why I wanted to make sure I added it here so we are aware of it.
All right, so all the budget numbers that we'll get moving forward will be with this UI adjustment.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hand up, we are moving to the next agenda item, which is 8.2. District survey results. In February 2021, the district launched the process of engaging our community in our New Haven Unified School District annual student, parent, and staff surveys. So today we will find out that what are the key findings and what are the next steps. Mr. Scott Pisani will be presenting us the information. Go ahead, Mr. Pisani. Thank you.
Good evening, President Chima, members of the board, Superintendent Thompson. Tonight, we'd like to provide some information for you in regards to the 2020-2021 New Haven Annual Parent, Student, and Staff Survey and their related results. And so with that, if we could advance the slide, please. Each school year, our district administers an annual survey to our parents, students, and staff for several purposes. One is to be able to provide feedback on district programs and services. Two is to be able to provide the district with input, assist in the identification of our priorities, and inform the development of the district's local control accountability plan, or our LCAP. Next slide, please. In the last year, in 2020-21, We, through our process, had 2,863 parents respond, 2,962 students respond, and 590 staff members respond. Next slide, please. From these responses, actually, these are the most responses that we've ever had from our stakeholders since we began our district-wide surveys when we received Race to the Top. And what is really a talking point to really think about is that although we, again, existed in a pandemic over the course of 2021, this year, our students, New Haven students, we received the most responses from them in regards to the surveys that were administered this school year. Next slide, please. What we provide on this slide deck and is publicly accessible, these are links that are active in the slide deck that show what the survey questions were for each of our student groups. Next slide, please. As well as our parent groups in English, Spanish, and Tagalog, and as well as the survey questions for our staff members. Again, all of the line items in blue are active links. The survey results and the data that it produces is gathered and analyzed using an outside evaluator from the district, from West Coast Strategic Consulting Services, working with Nada Georgievich, who has been affiliated with us for several years. Again, the link there is an active link to the website if there is more interest in information of their consulting services. This slide, and if I can ask you to please click on the link. At this point, we have received the executive summary of the results of the survey. And again, this is a composite of the data that has been collected. And if you can scroll down, again, it provides information of the participants. It provides highlights from over 2,400 open-ended comments that we'll go into detail in just a little bit. And then it provides all the numerical percentages for responses for each of the questions on each of the surveys. So for those who are interested in the granularity of the data, it is here and available for your review. Thank you. If you can go back. Yep, thank you so much. Next slide, please. Yep, there we go. So some of the highlights and themes from the 2,400 and more open-ended comments, they were few areas or patterns that emerged that are consistent within all of our stakeholder groups. Some of those is the importance of parents and students identifying their desire to be able to receive instruction in an in-person school, marked with urgency and being able to do so safely. The identification of mental health and social emotional health as students continue to exist in a distance learning environment and potentially transition into an in-person instructional delivery model. Advance, please. Again, safety concerns for students in regards to all groups. It included information and priorities around vaccinations and hygienes and facility and anti-bullying, as well as a catch-up and intervention and enrichment supports for students, again, as we conclude the year in distance learning and potentially transition into in-person instruction in the fall. Advance, please. Again, college, career, and academic rigor. It was identified that we need to continue to support connections for students and their future aspirations and goal setting with explicit college and career opportunities, as well as technology and using the best programs and the lessons that we've learned through our journey through the pandemic. Parents and students describe the value of online learning activities engaged in distance learning and hopes that some of the most successful elements would continue into the upcoming school year. Being able to be identifying the need for improved teacher, counselor, and family communication about student progress, as well as identifying the need for the district to continue to address students with IEPs as well. Next slide, please. So again, some of the key findings and takeaways around our stakeholder groups. Again, just the notion of academic supports, opportunities for enrichment, and second, our mental social health needs of our students as well. So what are the next steps? So we're going to be using the survey results from our stakeholder groups in the development of our local control accountability plan. Sites are going to be receiving survey results that are germane to their own communities. That data is in the process of being organized and analyzed to be able to include in their process of their development of their school plans for student achievement. Again, building alignment and coherence within the district around the board adopted goals in the LCAP, which is the district plan, and the SIPSAs, which are the school plans, using the data and the analysis of the data from our surveys, and present an LCAP, a draft for public hearing at the board meeting on June 1st, based upon additional feedback that we received from that process. We would make revisions to the draft LCAP and then present it to the board for adoption on June 15th. And so with that, again, hopefully we've provided you with an overview of the survey results, with, again, an overview as well as the granularity of the data and the resources. And I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pisani, for your comprehensive report. I do see two hands up from our trustee. Lance Nishira is first, then trustee Melissa Mallory. Go ahead, trustee Nishira.
Yeah, so really quickly, the numbers that we saw, like, plus 26%, plus 5%, were those relative year over year, or were those, so that was year over year increase?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Trustee Melissa Mallory, go ahead, please.
First, I want to thank you, staff, and everyone for compiling all this information. Very good work. I think it's good to know where we are. One thing that stood out to me when looking over the survey questions was that there were a lot of questions about identity, being cultural identity, ethnic identity, but there were no questions about gender identity or sexual orientation for our students. And I know that this is something that does not maybe affect the majority of our students, but it does affect our students. And, you know, the LGBTQ community, especially transgender students and gender nonconforming students, are at much higher risk for mental health issues and suicide if they're not in a supportive environment. And so I think it's very important that we do not leave this out. And as a queer person myself, it was like a gut punch to my stomach to think that my community was excluded from this survey. And I just want to sit with that for a second, because if I felt that way, how did our students who identify as LGBTQ feel? So I want to make sure that this is included, that my community and the students that identify as LGBTQ are included going forward in the district's plans and are striving towards equity and inclusion of everyone. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, board members, for your comments. Seeing no more hands up. So we are moving on to the next agenda item, 9.1, which is a Measure M, Board Oversight Committee Annual Reports to the Board of Education. Ms. Hellman again. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Michael Ritchie is the chair of our committee, and I'm sharing my screen. Sends his regrets that he is not able to join us to present these to the board or to share these with the board. But I wanted to take a few minutes, and I opened one of the reports, which is the latest one. I just wanted to recognize the work of our oversight committee, especially the subcommittee that they formed in order to create these reports. And like I said, on your screen, this is the work that this subcommittee does. You can see, and these are available to the public. These really are highlighting the investments and the support that the community gave to us by way of Measure M. So I'm just going to be quickly perusing this just to show you, the kind of work that the subcommittee put together. Like I said, there are 3 of them who formed the committee to really did a lot of the heavy lifting on this, but we do have 12 members of that committee. And this is, here's a list of our committee. And the subcommittee are, as you can see there, the 3 subcommittee members. So I'm going to fast forward just to show to you that this touches on all this different issuances of bond measure M and the expenses that we track by the different projects and by the different year, because we get audited for these. It's actually a required separate audit in accordance to the ballot language and the projects that were approved by the board in 2015. We do break it apart in certain granular level that would produce information regarding to what kind of technology we are investing in and the deferred maintenance that we have. And then an outlook of what, the rest of all the projects that were approved, what are we looking like in terms of timeline? This color coded shows like what is happening right now, what's been completed, what's in the pipeline in the coming year or so. And these projects also tie to our LCAP overall goal because it directly ties to goal 5, right? But and I'm getting there, let's see. Some of these also show information with regards to the different major projects that we have completed or are in the works. Or I hope I'm not making anyone feel dizzy by just scrolling down really fast, but I wanted to show some of the work and the investments, and like I said, this comes from the support of our New Haven community with regards to our facilities. This is the Searles project, the big modernization project. This is the inside of it. It's really cool. And of course, some of the board members, I believe, have toured the new 2-story building at Pioneer. So leading to that, this is really the page that I wanted to show. We recently met with the committee I want to say a week or 2 ago. And as you can see, they have some recommendations here. And these were the discussions, and the committee actually established next steps and had given directions to staff with regards to next steps with regards to these committee recommendations. And I just wanted to share the report with you. I hope I did it justice since Mr. Ritchie is not here to do it on behalf of the committee. But yeah, anyway, so I wanted to share that. And this is to present as required by Proposition 39 to present it to the Governing Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you again for your quick and very comprehensive report. Of course, we have to read it to learn more about this. So any questions or comments from fellow board members? I don't see any hands up. I would like to know or let the public know, because this report is out. If you, Ms. Hellman, if you can let us know when do the committee meets and then how often they meet. And if there's any schedule, it's a public meeting, I know that. So do we have any information or link on our website?
Yes, we actually do have a page dedicated just for our CBOC. And from the meeting that we had about 2 weeks ago, they are planning to hold a meeting sometime the middle of June. Just as a follow-up conversation for the most part on those 5 recommendations that were included in that report. And yes, they are public meetings. The links are posted on the CBOC website within the district website, and all the minutes and agendas are also there, similar to how we post all of that information for our Budget and Finance Committee.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, thank you. So make sure that in the district's communication, if you can embed that link into the communication to our parents. So if somebody is interested, they can participate. Thank you. Next agenda item is 9.2, items from the board and superintendent. May I have volunteers from the board members who want to share their any any items to share? Seeing none, maybe we can wait. I will ask Superintendent Dr. Thompson to share any updates, please.
Thank you. I do have a few. First of all, I would also like to thank our teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week. Regardless of how negotiations are what they are, and sometimes things get difficult and we have disagreements, but all of that aside, our teachers have done just a fantastic and incredible job over the past year. And as always, and I think as President Angeles pointed out, this year really brought out for us just how much they are valued and how much work they do. So thank you, teachers and other certificated staff members that support our classroom learning. I appreciate that. Summer school update. We are happy to announce that this Friday we will add additional classes to our summer programs for the high school. There will be a whole series of enrichment and other courses that will be available for students to sign up to. So that's kind of an exciting change. We also have now the PLA option for parents and students who don't feel comfortable or for whatever reason can't come back. That's also an option now. So we're excited about that for summer. Summer's shaping up to be quite a program, especially at the elementary level. We have, I think we'll have 3 school sites open with summer programs going. So that's exciting. Let's see. The last thing I'd like to mention is that last year we hosted a Facebook Live event with a few of our star outgoing seniors, and we will be hosting that event again. That's the plan anyway, where we had graduates from all of our different programs that we're hoping to have that, and that would be, right now it's tentatively scheduled for as a live event for the 27th. It's the day after school officially gets out. So more information to come on that. And those are my updates. Thank you.
If you can just refresh our memories, if you have your summer school dates handy, if you can share those, please, I will appreciate that.
Let's see, and I'm going to lean on my staff to help me with this. I believe it goes the 14th of June through the 15th of July. Is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I left one thing out. Thank you, Trustee Mallory, for your comments about our survey. We definitely want to make those as inclusive and as possible. Mr. Pizzani pointed out that we do have one question related to gender identity, but I think you're probably looking for something a little more rigorous and more expanded that way. So what we'll do is we will probably lean on you a little bit to help us make sure we get that right moving forward. So we appreciate that feedback. Thank you.
Also, I would like to share that if members of the public or they have their comments, we have a direction for our staff to update the board members about all those concerns the members they have shared. So we might not respond here. This is not the session, but we do follow up. Thank you. So I do see hands up from Trustee Linda Canvas.
Thank you so much. First of all, I too would like to thank teachers for all the work that they do. I know this year has been really a hard year, and you did a good job in making sure that our students are there. I know I was a teacher, my daughter is a teacher, so I'm very fully aware of what you're going through and continue to go through. Thank you so much for what you do. I'd also like to share that we have our own CSBA delegate from our district. So I would like to congratulate our new member, Trustee Nishihara. Congratulations for being one of the state's CSBA delegate, Region 7B. Thank you for stepping up.
Thank you, Trustee Canlis. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. The other one is, I'd like to thank Mr. Matos for making sure that the Facebook activities are posted on a regular basis. We have a lot of activities going on in our schools. Even though we did not reopen in April, we do have a lot of kids involved and are in person in our schools. So thank you for allowing us to see what that is through those Facebook pictures. And again, I'm looking forward to summer school. And hopefully we will have an opportunity as a board to come and visit the classrooms and see how it looks like during this time of the summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Melissa Mallory.
Thank you. I also would like to thank our teachers and certificated staff for all their hard work this year. you know, we want to make sure that you feel respected and like a priority in our district. And so I just wanted to recognize you. And also I wanted to say to Mr. Pisani and Dr. Thompson and all staff that I am here as a resource, and to teachers and students, anyone who needs resources for LGBTQ issues, I am here and I want to support that in our district. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I don't see any other hands up from the board members. For me, I would like to share that yesterday we had a joint meeting with our city council. Our clerk, Melissa Mallory, was there too in the meeting. And we heard some good things about how we have handled our teachers, parents, and our students during the pandemic. And one of the council members, they were curious about how come we don't have any kind of negative things going on because we did not open our schools in person. So this is kudos to our staff and our fellow board members. I know it was very difficult time at the time to make the decision to keep our schools closed, but at the same time, we have tried our best to direct the staff to plan as many in-person activities as we can. And staff has done a good job. And I think that has satisfied the parents' need to have some in-person exposure and instruction and some stress reliever activities, so to speak. So thank you so much for all the support from the community and from the staff. And of course, thank you to the teachers who are always on the front lines to provide these services. Nothing we can do without you guys. Second thing I would like to also comment on, congratulations on Trustee Lance Nishira's appointment to the CSBA delegate. For the community members or the people who might not know, what does that mean? It's being a board member, we have certain requirements to attend meetings, a lot of stuff. But there are some more responsibilities to represent your area at the state level. That's where they call a CSBA delegate. So there are regions, and we have every year we have some elections, people who step up to serve in those positions. And previously, our previous board member Jeff Wangs, he served on that in that capacity. So I'm glad that member Trustee Nishihira has stepped up to represent us. Thank you.
Thank you, President.
Thank you. So that's all for me. And I'm also looking forward for the annual graduation ceremonies, in person, virtual, or whatever we have in the plan. I'm making my calendar available and looking forward for all the summer school activities and summer school sessions as well. Thank you. Next agenda item is 10.1, a report from the Budget and Finance Committee. Member Trustee Canlis, would you like to?
There is nothing to report. Our next meeting is on May 19th.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And 11.2, report from the Communications and Advocacy Committee.
Trustee Mallory, would you like to provide the update?
Well, I can start. I'm sure you'll have things to add. We did have our initial meeting with our selected vendor Spark and talked about next steps and how to get things rolling. And we set up our ways of communicating with the vendors and with the communications and advocacy team, as well as ways to provide feedback on their work. And at this point, I think they are reviewing our packet that we gave to them about all the community feedback we've received. And we will be meeting again next week on Thursday, which is the 13th, right? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything to add,
Any-
trustee Nishihira? All right.
Nope, you got it, you got everything.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 10.3, other subcommittees. I would start this time with trustee Gonzalez because
No, we had ours last go around, and so we're not up for another month or so. So
okay, thank you.
nothing to report.
Nothing to report. So any other board members they want to report from their subcommittees? Trustee Canvas.
Yeah, we had our last meeting with the community college presidents last Thursday, and that was very helpful. It was a collaboration between the community colleges and K-12 regarding career and pathway to college. Our next meeting is on May 20th, and that would be on the governor's budget May revise. Everyone is invited.
Thank you. Trustee Les Nishira.
Yeah, so for the New Haven Schools Foundation, nothing new to report other than just restating that the scholarship luncheon is on May 19th from 10 to, I have blocked that at 1:30, so starting around, so I'll be there to help celebrate all the hard work of our students. So that's it.
Thank you. Superintendent Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. I just want to actually make a brief mention of our 7-Eleven committee. Their work, we haven't disbanded the committee, but their work has basically been concluded for the time being. And I just wanted to thank them, let all of you know that is true, and to thank anybody that might be out there listening for all of their work. That was they met a lot and worked hard. So that's it. Thank you, 7-Eleven committee.
Thank you for all of your committee reports. Thank you, Trustee Canlas, for continuously advocating to participate in the Alameda County School. This time I was thinking to, but then with virtual meetings, my schedule was so full. And Trustee Nishira from the foundation side, I have been thinking to start some scholarships for a long time, but I think this will be the year I will actually do it. So
And just let me know, and I definitely can walk you through the process.
sure, thank you, I appreciate that. Next is action items, agenda item number 11.1, resolution number 0402021, declaration of need for fully qualified educators. May I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 040-2021, declaration of need for fully qualified educators?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Anything from the staff if they want to give a brief kind of information why we are doing this section? I know it's written here, but it's always good to have some conversation. Dr. Thompson.
Sure. Would you like me to speak to it?
Please, thank you.
Sure. Those of you who have been on the board, for those people who are new, they've never seen this, but this is an annual thing that has to go before the board. What happens is during the year, typically there might be some hard to fill positions, typically in special ed, but it could be in single subject positions that are kind of singletons. And what this does is it allows us to hire people who don't have the full credential and get them in emergency credentials. So this is something that we do. We rarely use it, but we always want to have it. If we don't file this with the board, then we can't do this. So it's a pretty standard thing that happens annually.
Thank you so much. Roll call, please.
Canlis.
Aye.
Gonzalez.
Aye.
Nishihira.
Aye.
Swen Mallory.
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. Agenda item number 11.2. Appointment to the Board Policy Review Committee. At our last meeting on April 20th, Trustee Gonzalez and Trustee Melissa Swen Mallory indicated their interest in being the representative to the Board Policy Review Committee. Do they still wish to be appointed to this committee? Please raise your hands. Thank you, appreciate that. Uh, we would also like to have an alternative. Do we have a volunteer? So should be other than those two.
I can be an alternate if needed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for stepping up again, Trustee Najira. So then now we have, so then may I have a motion and a second to appoint Trustee Gonzalez and Trustee Melissa Mallory as representative to the Board Policy Review Committee with Trustee Nishihira to serve as an alternative.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, comment, question?
Thank you for
So-
volunteering.
Yes, it's very important. I know we have been thinking about it to do it so for a long time. But I would like to know that what will be if you have any idea of the schedule of the meetings. If Dr. Thompson, you know it off your head or not, or anything related to that, how we will proceed further.
I can speak
Go
to
ahead.
that.
Sure.
So what we do is we get periodic updates to, there's a couple, on an annual basis, as we get periodic updates and recommendations to revise our policies, we'll schedule meetings on kind of an as needed basis to review them. And the plan would be for these revisions to go to the committee first, and for the committee to have a chance to vet them at that level. And then the committee would reach agreements and then make a recommendation to the board for action in open session. So that typically happens about 4 times a year, give or take. We'll be scheduling a meeting soon. Right now we have 53 policies that are backlogged that need to be addressed. So we'll be maybe spreading that over a couple meetings soon here. But if we don't move soon, we're going to have even more coming at us. So anyway, it's as needed, typically 3 to 4 times a year.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson, for the explanation. And also thank you again for both new board members. Sorry to use the new board members, but you're taking the very high load. So because in the past, what we have done is sometimes there is so much heavy agenda, and then there was a need felt that proper review of those policies in terms of how the policy they impact locally to our district was not adequately addressed. So this will address that need, and we will depend upon our fellow board members for vetting those policies and having a proper intent, so to speak, how they impact our local school district. Thank you so much. This is heavy lifting. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So discussion, so roll call, please.
Canlis,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Nay.
Nishihira,
Aye.
Swen Mallory,
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. 11.3, approval of proposal for retiree health evaluation under GAS 7475. May I have a motion and a second to approve the proposal from Arthur J. Gallagher and Company to perform the required evaluation of the required employee health benefit plans?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I would appreciate that if staff can update us, because this has some dollar amount. So what will this action item will do to our district?
Good evening once again. So we have 3 retiree benefit plans as shown on the summary. This is a requirement of GASB pronouncement 74 and 75. We are required to do an actuarial or evaluation of these plans every 2 years. It actually replaced an old pronouncement, which used to be GASB 45. One of those, but these are the new pronouncements that replace that requirement, and it's a routine matter for us. We have to do it because of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Canlis,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Nishihira,
Aye.
Swen Mallory,
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. So next is agenda item number 11.4, approval of agreements with Plum Architects for the architectural design services for the power backup generators projects. May I have a motion and a second to approve the attached agreements with the Plum Architects for architectural services for the district's generators project?
So moved.
Second.
Any comment, discussion, or questions from the staff? No. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Canlis,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Nishihira,
Aye.
Swin Mallory,
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. So next agenda item is 11.5, approval of architect agreements with Plum Architects for the design of shared structures at Cesar Chavez and Italian Veracruz middle schools. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with Plum Architects for architecture design and engineering services of shared structures at Cesar Chavez Middle School and Italian Veracruz middle schools?
So moved.
Second.
Any comment, discussion, questions from the staff? Seeing none, I just want to say that I am so glad that we are moving forward with this project. Seeing in this pandemic, I think it's very important for our students to provide these spaces. Thank you so much. Roll call, please.
Canlis,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Nishihira,
Aye.
Swin Mallory,
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. Agenda item number 11.6, approval of architect agreements with Plum Architects for architectural and engineering services for the installation of solar photovoltaic systems at Pioneer and Searles Elementary Schools. Now, may I have a motion and a second to approve the attached agreement with Plum Architects for architectural design and engineering services for the installation of solar photovoltaic systems at Pioneer and Searles Elementary Schools?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, comments or questions from the board members? Seeing none, I would like to know that because we have already had these solar systems installed in all of our school systems, so I'm just curious that why we are doing it again. If you can please update us.
I could speak to that. So we actually did phase 1 and phase 2 of our district-wide solar, which was completed about at least a year ago. We purposely, or the district purposely, held back on the solar structure for these 2 schools because these 2 schools were the ones that were planned for modernization. So we wanted to embed the solar project along with their modernization projects. And that is why we're just now doing it, because they recently completed, as you know, for Searles and Pioneer.
Thank you. So when are we going to cut the ribbons for those? That's the next question. It's okay. You don't have to answer that right now. So roll call, please.
Canlis,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Nishihira,
Aye.
Swin Mallory,
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. Next agenda item is 11.7, approval of memorandum of understanding MOU with Mela Counseling Services for 2021 and 2022. May I have a motion and a second to approve the memorandum of understanding with Mela Consulting Services for 2021-2022?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, comment, questions? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Canlis,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Nishihira,
Aye.
Swin Mallory,
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. Next agenda item 11.8, approval of agreement with Mind Research Institute for ST Math licenses for Cesar Chavez Middle School 2021-2022. May I have a motion and a second to approve an agreement with Mind Research Institute for ST Math licenses for Cesar Chavez Middle School for 2021-2022?
So moved.
Second.
Any comment, discussion, questions? Seeing, oh, I see one hand up from trustee Michael Gonzalez. Go ahead, please.
I'm just curious, what is IVC using? If Cesar Chavez is using ST Math, what are they using at the other middle school?
I believe it's Imagine Math. Scott, is that right?
That's correct.
Is that it? Trustee Gonzalez?
No,
ahead.
yeah, just were these piloted, or I mean, they just selected on their own, or just, I mean, why one or the other? Who did they have to go on their own to find this resource?
I think I'll let Mr. Pisani address that if you don't mind.
So again, using the data points that were included in the surveys, where taking from what we've learned during the course of the pandemic, again, ST Math was an application that was utilized in pilot format for the current year, and in getting feedback from our middle schools. Again, each of the middle schools provided recommendations for apps moving into the forward based upon what we learned during the course of the school year. So this item going forward to you is based upon the recommendation from the staff at Cesar Chavez Middle School.
That's it? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Canlis,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Nishihira,
Aye.
Schwen Mallory,
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. Agenda item number 12, consent agenda items, actions. So are there any items that trustees would like to pull for the questions or for separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 12.1 through 12.27?
So moved.
Second.
So there is no discussion, questions or comments, I believe. So roll call, please.
Canlis,
Aye.
Gonzalez,
Aye.
Nishihira,
Aye.
Schwen Mallory,
Aye.
Chima.
Aye. Agenda item number 13, discussion and action on items removed from the consent agenda. So there is none. Number 14, governance review, assessment of governance procedures and our protocols to reflect on our own meeting today. So I see one hand up from Trustee Lance Nishira. Go ahead, please.
Really good meeting, really smooth. I thought there was we moved really well. One question I have for the 11.1 resolution declaration needfully, this is something that's really routine. I'm just wondering if something like this could actually be put into consent, or is there a requirement that we have it in open action?
As far as my recollection is, it has to be an action item.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great.
Thank you. That's it. Okay. Thank you so much for your feedback, Member Nishira. So agenda item number 15, board member requests. So is there any request from any of the board members from the staff? Any request from the staff? I see Trustee Melissa Schwen Mallory's hand. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I have two requests, and you're going to see a theme here. Next month is Pride Month, June, and I would like us to have a resolution declaring that June is Pride Month and raise the Pride flag at all of our sites in June. So that's the first one.
That's the first one. If you can go for the second one, please, again, then we can ask the staff.
The other one is that there have been bills introduced in over 30 states. None of them are California, but trying to ban transgender athletes from participating in sports based on their true gender identity. So I want to review what our policy is on transgender athletes, and so that maybe we can do this in our new policy committee, and get report from staff and to see what our current policy is, if we have one, compared to what the California law is, and so that we can recommend a policy to the board.
So before we allow Trustee Michael Gonzalez, because his hand is up as well, I would like Dr. Thompson to give us some feedback about the requests they were just made.
Okay, yeah, let's make sure we frame it right and then see if we can get more consensus. So there's actually two parts to the first request, which is to pass a resolution for Pride Month. And then I think the second part of that would be to raise flags at all of the Pride flags at our sites for the month of June. So, and this is it's something that is, assuming you could purchase flags, and I think that's, there's a month to do that. That's something we could consider. But I also think it's something that we should have more consensus on to move forward with. So I'll turn it back to the board. I think these two things are doable.
From the staffs, okay, doable. So from the board members, would you like to move forward with the resolution? That's number first. Let's raise your hands if you are in support of having the resolution placed on the board meetings. Thank you. So, and the second one, having the flags on our sites, please raise your hands again. So both requests. So that was the first request, and second request was Dr. Thompson, if you can remember, and please.
Well, I think Trustee Mallory hit it right on the nose. I mean, that's the perfect place. The purpose of the board policy committee would be to review exactly this type of thing. So I think her recommendation to have the board policy committee to review our current policies related to this and make recommendations is absolutely perfect. So we can put that on the agenda for the policy committee meeting when we get it scheduled. If that's okay with the board, it's fine with.
Yeah, so please raise your hands if you are okay with the board members, if you are okay with this. Yeah, I see that. So thank you so much for all of your support. So congratulations to Trustee Melissa Shen Mallory for both items. And now Trustee Michael Gonzalez, if you can please share your request.
Yeah, I just want to follow through with what I mentioned at the last board meeting, which is looking at and following through with the current policy we have and looking at any marginalized community. And it's looking at the Dakota community, following through with data, actually looking through if there are any inequalities with the expulsions, the suspension, the recommendation with special education, looking at AP courses, looking at either identified as gifted or discipline, just looking at all that data, if the staff can follow through with that. So.
Yeah, I can address that if you'd like. So many clarifications. So are we looking at a specific geographical region that and all students within that region? Are we looking at subgroups? What exactly? I know I get what you're trying to get at, but what exactly is it broken down? Again, give me a little more detail here on what you're asking.
I would say more of the community. Within those boundaries, but you can also bring it, all the demographics involved with that too. So.
Okay, that is we have a lot of data related to this that I think, but I don't know what kind of timeline we'd be looking at on this, quite frankly, and I also don't know. We may have to go back. I mean, this has been the best year for expulsions we've ever had. We haven't had any. Discipline data is great this year. We are really making big strides. So we may need to do more of a longitudinal look back. And quite frankly, I don't know. We can look at this proposal and come up with a recommendation, but I don't know. I can't. I'll have to dig into that a little more and get back to the board on what we can do and what we can't do, and then we can go from there.
I'm wondering if Michael is interested in looking at patterns. I think is what he's saying, right? Looking at patterns, if certain demographics are having high identification compared to the other. Is that what you're looking for? That's how I'm understanding your request.
Well, so I talked to Dr. Thompson about this, and Oakland Unified School District, where they have reparations for Black students, and so just going with what they have, basing on that, kind of looking at some of those issues they brought up, and I want to put together something more concrete for Dr. Thompson to actually guiding questions to help him out through this process. So I will follow up with you on that, definitely.
Okay, the question is, we need to hear more about it because the board needs to also be on board. And my thinking is if we're looking at certain demographics, we need to identify those demographics that we're looking at and perhaps look at not going back to perpetuum, but maybe 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years data, because it would be a huge work if we go too far back. Perhaps maybe we could look like last 4 years to see if there has been an improvement, and then where do we go and what's our next step from there?
I see a hand up from trustee Melissa Mallory. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Dakota is not just demographics. I mean, of course, it's a neighborhood that I live in, and it's a geographical area, right? And the demographics of Dakota are much different than the rest of Union City. And I would argue that the South Fairway Park area that we venture into also has different demographics than the rest of the city. Being that it's a very working class neighborhood, it's very highly majority Hispanic, and we have a lot of immigrants and a lot of multi-generational households in Dakota, I think more so than the rest of the district. So I know we need more specifics, but it's not just demographic based on demographics such as race or ethnicity. It is based on where you're living. So I'd be happy to work with you, Trustee Gonzalez, on a plan.
But and maybe the best way to start is to show you what kind of data we can actually generate. Because
Right.
we could come up with I don't want you going too far down the road only to be able to say, hey, look, we'd have to go out door to door knocking on doors to get that kind of data. We have things that are easy to get, data that is easy to get, and we have information that hasn't historically been collected. So, if we're going back longitudinally and we don't have the data, there's nothing we can do. But moving forward prospectively, we might be able to do some things differently too. So
Yeah, so it's important
I think we
to
probably
identify.
Yeah, and I think maybe we need to revisit this, and I can work offline with Trustee Gonzalez and Trustee Mallory,
Right.
to do that. But I really think we should try to figure out I need to lay it out for the board before, and we can bring it back if it's easy to do and something that we have and we have the data that we can produce, or we have a way to get it. It sounds like great data to have, and depending on what it is. But I think we need to kind of help figure out what we what that really looks like.
I see trustee Nishira. Go ahead.
Yeah, love this work. I think that this is really, really important work. And I think, thank you, Trustee Mallory and Trustee Gonzalez for bringing it up. One of the opportunities that I think that we have here is, we think about goal 1 and we think about goal 2, and to Dr. Thompson's point, I think it's a good idea for us maybe to say, all right, well, let's present to you the problem that we're trying to solve. We want to address systemic racism. We want to address opportunities for advanced placement classes or exposure. We want to understand, how our sports and co-curriculars may contribute to academic achievement, possibly. We want to understand in terms of the disproportionate discipline, those types of things. And I think maybe it's good to give staff the leeway for them to say, here's, if the big goal is to end systemic racism, here are the indicators that we should pay attention to. Here's the data that we have. Here are the data gaps that we would need to be able to fill. There's gaps in data that we don't have. And so maybe it's really maybe to your point, Dr. Thompson, it's good for you to tell us, you know, what we have to work on and what we need, what we need support on in terms of how to fill in those gaps. Right now, we just don't have a picture of what we know and what we don't know and what indicators we need to move, right? So, I mean, we're all aware of the disproportionate discipline, right? That's an indicator we track specifically, right? The question is that enough, right? Does that really address the big picture? And so, I don't know how much direction the board should be giving staff on this, or does the board delegate to staff and say, you tell us what the picture looks like, and the board will then tell you that's complete or it's not complete, or I don't know, or maybe that's just too broad. I don't know, but it seems like as a board member, I wouldn't want to over constrain staff with too narrow of a purview, because then you risk then you may risk just focusing on a few small set of indicators that are easily understood or easily acquired. I think I don't know. It's really up to the board, but I just think there's an opportunity there to have a wider aperture, I think.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Trustee Nishira. I do see hands up from Trustee Michael Gonzalez again, and then Trustee Linda Canvas after that. Maybe you can clarify your ask.
Yeah, let's start off with what we can do, what we can look at, and what's easy for staff to pull up data on. Within that community, Dakota community, before Logan, there was Washington High School, and the feeling was systematic racism was happening, and they were getting pushed out. So let us again look through an equity lens and try to call this out. So let's keep it simple. Let's look at over-identified IEPs. Let's look at that. Let's look at AP courses. Let's look at expulsions, suspensions. Let's look at attendance, and let's look at grades. Just keep it there. That's something we can do within our scope. So start there.
Thank you, Trustee Linda Canvas.
Yeah, Trustee Gonzalez just answered my question that I was going to bring up, and that is to narrow our focus first and be specific of what outcome we're trying to find. So he answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you. So as far as I remember, we do have an equity council. Dr. Thompson, if you can share are they still active, or what kind of work they are doing, or?
They've been meeting. They pretty much set their own agendas, so that we haven't. They meet. We have a district representative that attends, and this would be the kind of data if we did share that we would share with this committee. And we, certainly we have a lot of what Trustee Gonzalez is talking about. The thing that I don't know that we've done specifically is disaggregate it by zip code, and that is something that we'll have to see. Some of that will be easy to do, and some of that might be a little more challenging. So
we're all the same zip code.
In Union City, we have only one zip code.
I'm sorry, by
Address.
Yes, thank you. What I mean is by geographical, by street address. So that is going to present a different challenge, especially when it comes to something like AP classes. Well, you got to identify the students, and then you're gonna have to hand count probably all of those, and then compare it to. We'll see. Some of this, like I said, let's start with what we know we can pull and how we can disaggregate it. And to be fair, we do have more than one zip code because we have South Hayward too, right? And that's part of Dakota.
That's true.
So I get in trouble when we send mailings out there because I get email or text messages from the Hayward superintendent going, "Are you recruiting my students again?" No, we're just trying to mail. We're just trying to mail information to our families in that zip code. So, and that's part of that as well, right? So, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Where do we draw the line? Do we cut out South Hayward, or do we include that in Dakota? We're going to have to take a look at that. This is where it'll get. Like I said, we have the data we can disaggregate by, student, by grade level, by ethnicity, you name it. But picking a specific number of addresses is something that'll be, we'll have to figure out how to do that. Now that'll be I'm not saying it's insurmountable, but it'll limit the kind of data we can get. We'll have to take a look and then we'll come back and share with you what we can do.
Yeah, also, I think many years back when we established Equity Council, we also had the policy enacted to allow all of our students to sign up for the AP courses. So that has been open, but that doesn't mean that how many students they are actually participating or benefiting from that policy. So I know in the past, this last 2 years, there has been so much disturbance, but before we used to get a report that how many students they actually signed up for the AP courses and how many passed it and what was the score, 3, 4, 5, and did it with the opening of the enrollment to the AP courses, did it actually kind of diluted the, our scores. So we had that kind of information presented to us before, but I don't remember this year or even from the past year. Maybe we can take a look at that as well. Yeah. So from this conversation, from the request, Trustee Gonzalez will work and Trustee Melissa Shanmelli, they will work with Dr. Thompson to maybe more pinpoint what they're asking for, and then go ahead and see and kind of, weigh in how much or how we proceed further. I think that's what I'm understanding for now. Is that okay with you, Trustee Gonzalez? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for presenting this thoughtful discussion. It's ongoing work, and we are all, personally, I'm very happy that as a board member, or as a board, all of us, we are addressing those challenges of inequities. So seeing no further agenda items, I would like to adjourn this meeting. Have a